Welcome to episode 212.
You're listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast, where you'll learn the underground, closely guarded secrets that will revolutionize your real estate business. This podcast is all about helping you exit the real estate newbie zone and enter financial freedom, building up your real estate throne. This is Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast. And now your host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, world traveler, and nationwide mentor, Chris Bruce.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Escaping the REI Newbie Zone. I'm your host, Chris Bruce. I want to say welcome to this week's show. Now, today, I have a very special guest on the podcast today. All right, I'm going to enjoy this interview. This is from a real estate investor, money expert. He's also a podcast host, and he talks about wanting to get out from the corporate office, from most people feel, slaving away at the job, even though you're making pretty good money, but just want to break the chains of the corporate America and kind of have your own thing, So what this investor did, he started out and got into some different strategies like wholesaling and rehabbing. But he quickly secured 20 deals in the first 18 months. And when acquiring those, he did them without bank financing. All right. And now he teaches people, through his podcast and other streams on how to invest in themselves, how to be ready, a ready investor, and offer tips, hacks, insights, to create opportunities to create passive income. Because at the end of the day, we are in it for transactions, of course, right? A lot of you are getting into wholesaling, maybe you might be doing renovations, doing rehabbing, but there's just active income. At the end of the day, to become wealthy, you need to know how to create passive income. You can do that through rental properties. So he's going to be talking about some different things that he's used to create a new money mindset and why time is not money. Now, I know you heard that many a times that, time is money. But this gentleman is going to actually take you up and really challenge you on why he thinks that time is not money. So let me wait no further and introduce my guest today, Paul Thompson. Like I said from the intro, we have a very special guest on. So let's go ahead and welcome my guest, Paul Thompson. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, man, I'm glad to get you on the podcast to really talk about a lot of different things that's been going on with you, your business, and some things that I know a lot of my listeners like to talk about, which is money. But before we get into all of that, want to kind of dive into how you got started into the real estate business. What were you kind of doing beforehand that led to you where you're at right now?
Sure thing. So I was a corporate denizen. I had an engineering degree, and I was kind of working my way up the food chain in the corporate world. And I was in it for about 15 years when I realized that on my way up to climbing the ladder, that my ladder was against the wrong wall. I discovered that when I was in my corporate job, I just wasn't that rewarded. I was unfulfilled. And it kind of came to a head one summer when I was driving back from a beach vacation where we'd been there for a week, and my kids indicated they wanted to stay a little bit longer. And I didn't even really give it much consideration because, I had to go back to work. And on that drive back, I was kind of ticked off, and it took me a while to kind of put to words and kind of narrow down what was really bothering me. And what really bothered me was I was stepping back into the matrix. I was becoming aware that I was just trapped in this wage slave life, and that I was willingly going back the next day. Not willingly, I was unwillingly going back the next day. And I had to be back at work. My wife was a stay-at-home mom, did not have to go back to work. My kids were both out of college or out of school, it's a summer break. So didn't have to go anywhere, but we had to come back home because I had to check back into the office. And we had the money. It was not like I needed more money to oversee another week. And that just really ticked me off. And that was like the sea change that happened in my life where I said, I've got to find a way to start making money while I sleep and passively so that I could be in control of my time instead of having to always exchange my time for money.
Right. I definitely can resonate with that because that's, I think that's what a lot of people feel like, it's just like you want to bring the income in, right? And you have to have some security or income, of, right? Because you got bills, you have a life, you have family, things like that. But at the back of your mind, you're saying, I know I could be doing more, right? If I focused on all of my energy in the business instead of someone else's business, I could get to where I'm not trading my hours for dollars.
That's right. You're always building somebody's dream. And is it yours or somebody else's?
Exactly. And it's funny because one of the books that really struck a nerve for me with that was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, I read that book. And from reading that book, I instantly had a date in my mind of when I was going to quit my job.
Love it.
So, okay, so for you, all right, so you were fed up with the trading for hours for dollars. All right, so is this when how did you come across the real estate investing?
Good question. So I did not immediately jump to real estate investing. I just knew that I needed to do something else. I needed to, start a business, start doing some sort of investment, something that didn't require me forever. On the front end, you obviously, there's you got to front load a lot of the work. But what could I do so that I could automate it and delegate a lot of the work that's required? And I seriously considered buying a franchise. I thought about starting an insurance agency, and everything that I looked into just felt like I was buying another job. And then it dawned on me, it's like, well, I could just buy some rental properties, which I considered doing before, and I had tacitly researched before, but I never with any real serious approach. And I thought, well, this is something I could do where I could just buy one house and see how it goes. And then I would buy a few more houses and see how it goes. And I could transition. It's not something where I had to jump out of the airplane and just hope that I could build a business on the way down.
Right.
It was something that I could just smoothly transition into. And a lot of times when you're getting started, being bankable, having a steady W-2 income is really handy when you're first getting started, especially when you don't have that 2 or 3 years of business experience or tax returns. It's harder to get loans when you are self-employed.
Right.
So I use that as a kind of a foundation to build a business where I was buying rental properties and then being kind of a deal maker, either wholesaling or flipping or doing notes or investing out of my IRA, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
And,
okay.
Yeah, so I really have put a lot of effort in research into learning how to be a good investor, and I would not even say a good investor, a really savvy investor. And I didn't start off that way. You got to inch your way into it, and I probably went to 30 plus conferences, and I read 100 books, and but I didn't read them all at once, right? I did a little bit, and I would learn something, and then I would apply it. Okay, well, that worked. Now I would learn something and apply it. Okay, that didn't work 100%, but it got me 75% of the way there, and I would just keep tacking on to that talent stack of knowledge that I had, and just started buying properties.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. All right, so you definitely got into, like you said, some different things: wholesaling, some notes, some rentals. So, what was that first rental property that you purchased, or did you purchase multiple at a time?
I did buy a lot on the front end, but we all start with our first one, right? So my first one was a property that I bought for $30,000, and I put about $10,000 of repair into it, and then I did a refinance of that and got that initial $40,000 back out.
Gotcha.
And paid off my private lender that I'd used for the $30,000, and then paid my business the $10,000 back that I put in for the repairs. And I still have that property. It rents for about $650, $700, and I've had it since I started, since about three plus years now. And it just rocked along, and it had a fair amount of surprises. I definitely learned a lot about what it takes to screen tenants and deal with maintenance requests and all that sort of thing. I've gotten a lot better at that since I've installed policies and procedures to handle things. But I was just learning when I first started, and overall, it's a winning proposition. And what's so great about rentals is so long as you are able to make your underlying payments over time, they tend to get better because of all the benefits of real estate.
Right, definitely. I agree. Okay. All right, so you got the first rental. About how long did it take to start to work on the next one?
I think I was in the middle of the rehab of the first one when I bought the second one, and it was about the same terms. It was about a $30,000 purchase. It didn't need quite as much work. And in fact, there was a tenant already in there. She'd been there for 28 years, and she has since passed away and is no longer living there. And I'm now have rehabbed it and put it on the market to rent just within the last year. But she was in there for 28 years, and and so I learned a lot about inheriting tenants. I thought that was a great thing, and it can be a great thing depending on the circumstances. But she promised that she'd be able to pay that $500, and then the very first month, she couldn't pay the $500.
Oh man.
yeah, and she was 78 years old. She'd been there for 28 years, and I definitely learned how tenants, whether they mean to or not, can really pull on your heartstrings. Because I just could not be the guy that evicted this 78-year-old woman who was clearly in bad health, and had a very small fixed social security income, had no family to speak of. I mean, I tried everything I could to get her on housing. I would bring her documents and say, "We'll fill this out, and then we'll put you in a good housing scenario because you clearly can afford this." And she wouldn't cooperate. Definitely learned a lot of lessons that even when you inherit a property, you want to screen the tenants that are in there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so perfect. So one thing that it seems like you learned early on in your investing career that I want to point out is the importance of passive income. I think like a lot of our listeners today, when they're getting started, they're more worried about, of course, active income, right? Learning how to wholesale properties or renovate properties, right, to bring in money. But the one of the best things about real estate is the cash flow it provides, the passive income, and that's the true meaning of wealth is, is having passive income. So, I mean, what was that trigger for you? Is that something that you've been kind of taught from family history, or what was that thing that you automatically knew that, you know what, I can't wait for 5-10 years of being in business to start working on my first rental. I'm gonna start early on.
Yeah, in fact, I probably made a bit of a mistake when I first started, in that I was learning that I only wanted rentals when I first started. I wasn't interested in wholesaling. I wasn't interested in flipping because I knew that was active income, and I didn't want another job. That was the whole point of me doing what I was doing, is to not have buy another job effectively. However, and of course, there's certainly a lot of wisdom behind those statements. However, I have learned that when you are in real estate, you want to learn how to control the deal, source your own deals, and then monetize each deal according to your investment criteria, according to the market, according to the neighborhood you're in. And so what I do now is I'll do like every 3 or 4 properties that I buy, or I get under contract, I'll go ahead and buy that and keep it as a rental because it's one of the properties that fits my criteria. But then the second and third property I get per month, I'll either flip or I'll wholesale or I'll partner with somebody and do something with it. And I just kind of cull and keep the best deals, the ones that I've spent all this time marketing for, and I keep those to myself. And that's a really important lesson to learn, is that you can't walk around with a hammer and just expect everything to be a nail. You need a toolkit of techniques. And don't be technique driven. Not everything that you touch is a wholesale. Not everything you touch is a flip. You want to see how best you can make this work. And if this given property has a lot of equity in it, but not a lot of cash flow, then that's when you flip. But if it has a lot of cash flow, you keep that for the cash flow, and you get creative with your financing. And that's the approach that it took me a couple probably a year or so to kind of figure out that I need to be adjusting my approach so that I was marketing and controlling the deals myself and then monetizing them based on the season of life that I was in.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's say someone, I know some challenges with some people is really going from the corporate employee mindset to running a business, and it's around a lot of different things. So, like, can you kind of share some insight and some different tips of someone that's trying to transition right now or making a transition in the near future, what they can look out for, they should focus on doing to change that mindset?
Absolutely. It's a great question, because that falls nicely into this kind of money mindset construct that I have, that we all need to be switching our mindset around and not think like employees where we're just order takers, but think like business people. And business people, they learn how to separate time from money. We hear the saying that time is money, and we believe it because it's a cliche and it seems right. Well, that's an employee's mindset. A business owner puts money into a business so that they can get time out. So what you want to do is you want to separate time from money. And, like, what is the value of your time? It's kind of a flawed approach, because even the physicians or attorneys or people who have high incomes, they're still just exchanging their time for money. And you can certainly become rich doing that, but you're not going to become wealthy until you learn how to make money while you sleep. That is completely separated from how much time that you continue to invest in the property or into the business. So time is not equal to money. You want to figure out ways to create streams of income, and people are not paying you for your time when you're doing a business. They're paying you for results.
Right.
And businesses offer results. They're not just giving you these billable hours. You don't care about the billable hours. You care about the results that you're giving them.
No, I like it.
And then number 2 of part of my 5 things for my mindset is, instead of you want to switch your mindset to always be seeking out streams of money. We all think we want money, and we want this big pile of money. We want to be a millionaire. We want to have this big pile of money. But when you find yourself with a bunch of money, you realize that you have to go do something with it, and you have to go invest it. And so, what you want to do is you want to invest it so that it turns around and gives you back streams of income, like dividends or rent checks or interest from the notes that you invest. That's what you want to do, is create streams of income, not a big pile of money. Because a big pile of money is just a big hassle.
Yep.
And then here's a really good one, is this idea that value is subjective. So a lot of people will ask me, well, why would anybody sell their house for a discount like what you're talking about? I said, because they are not the typical seller who is looking to get the most out of their property. What they want is a solution to their problem, and they're willing to exchange a lot of the value of the property for you solving their headache. They're about to go into foreclosure. Maybe they've been transferred. Something's going on in their life where they have more house than they want to deal with. And you come in and you buy it for a discount, and you remove the headache. And so that's my point behind that, is that don't ever assume what the other person wants. You don't give them what you want. You give them what they want. Value is subjective.
I like that.
And this is kind of a number 4, is that you don't actually want more money. We think we all want more money. We've been told we want more money, but you actually want what money can do for you.
Right.
Because, if I ask people a question of, would you trade places right now with Warren Buffett, who's, I think, at this age, like 79 years old, 80 years old, something like that. And he's one of the richest people in the world. But if I gave you the opportunity, Chris, to trade places with him, and you had your mind and everything he knew, but you were in his body and you had his money, and do you think he'd take that trade? Or would you take that trade?
I don't think so.
You're 79 years old and you're in his body. You can do whatever you want. But you basically are trading out your age for him.
No.
Most people, when they understand the question, would say no. Do you think Warren Buffett would take that? He would jump at the chance of doing that, right?
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter what body you put him in. He would take it because that body was younger, right?
Yep.
And so we don't actually want money. We want what money can do for us. I just gave you an opportunity where you can have all this money, but you don't really want the money. You want something that you can do. You want to live your life, and you want to spend your precious resource, which is time, the way that you want to. And so money allows you to do that. So you want money that can buy you what you want.
Yep. 100%. I agree with that. Man, yeah, you hit the nail on the coffin on that one, man.
Well, the last one is you have plenty of money for all the things that you truly want. That's the last money mindset, is that if you want something badly enough, you will do anything it takes to get there. Here we're talking on Skype, and I have a picture of your avatar, and I see it looks like your daughter in the picture there. And what would you do if you found out that you had to raise a certain amount of money to save the life of your daughter by next Friday? You had 8 or 9 days to get there.
Absolutely,
what would you do?
Everything that I can.
Right. I mean, you would break the law, right? I mean, you would do whatever it took, right? And now, thankfully, fortunately, we're not in that situation. Knock on wood, our kids are not being kidnapped. But the idea is that if something's really important enough to you, if you want to get out of your job so desperately so that you can lead a life of your design, then it's available to you. You just have to be willing to put forth the effort it takes to get there.
I agree. No, I agree 100%. Because, there's a lot of people that end up making like excuses like, I don't have the money for marketing, or I don't have any sales experience, but this all type of different excuses. But you're right.
Sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you really want it, you can go find it. I've had situations where I've pawn things to put money into marketing. I've done some crazy stuff, because
you wanted it badly enough.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
The ultimate resource that we have is being resourceful, not having time or money or energy or all those things. You can get all those things if you're resourceful enough.
Yep, I agree 100%. 100%. Okay, so let's talk about the journey from leaving corporate America. So. At this time, when you made the decision, you was like, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to do this business full time. Where was your business at that particular time? How many rentals did you have?
Let's see, I think at that time I had 25 rentals, and I was doing about 2 or 3 deals per month at that time. I'd say about more like 2 because I was working full time.
Okay.
And I'd average, it comes in fits and spurts, but I would average about 2, maybe 3 per month. And actually, I was planning to resign in January of 2018 when at the end of the fiscal year for the company I was with was giving out bonuses. Like, our 401k didn't vest until you actually were there till January 1st of next year, and then they would give you your bonus for the year. But turns out in November 2017, about 2.5 months earlier, or a month and a half earlier, a week before Thanksgiving, I was laid off.
Wow.
And they gave me a severance and all this sort of thing. And it turns out that the severance was larger than I would have gotten for the bonus. Plus, that year they didn't give out the bonus because the company wasn't doing very well and they were having to cut people. So they did me a favor, really.
That worked out a favor for you.
And for a lot of people, that would be a very scary time. I actually have this concept that I talk about of how to fire your boss before your boss fires you, because in corporate America, it has become so much more common for, even without any fault of your own, you could be a very good employee. If you're getting paid too much and the company's not doing well, then your head's on the chopping block. And so I wanted, and I kind of knew I was vulnerable because I was a single income family, and if I lost my job where I lived in a small market when I was getting paid about 6 figures, and if I lost that job, I would not be able to replace that in the same industry. I would have to either change industries or I'd have to move someplace to find a job that paid the same. So what I did is I just changed industries myself in advance. And it took me, 2-3 years to learn and get there. But I had that 2 or 3 years while I was working to transition. And what I started doing is, as I was getting close to quitting, like 6 months prior, say like summer of 2017, what I did was I started switching living off of my rental income and my investment income instead of living off of my salary job. So I
Gotcha.
was saving my salary income aside. And when you're first getting started, you may not be able to do that all at once, but I suggest people start to do that. Whatever income you can take from your small business as it grows, I mean, it can only be 1% a quarter of it. I don't care how much it is, but start taking a very small little owner's draw and learn how to create the system where you're taking money from your business and learn how much you can safely take away from the business and it not hurt the business so that you can live off of it. And then once you learn how to do that, as you get more income, then you have the principles and the practices in place so that you can transition smoothly from the steady W-2 income, which we've all been trained to have, over to a business that whose cash flow is not always as consistent as you're used to in the day job.
Got you. Got you. That makes 100%, guys. Guys, I hope you really caught that nugget, guys. Is taking a small percentage of your business or your cash flow from your rentals to kind of support your life, so that way you can take the income that you are making from your job to save, right? And you're not focused on living on that, so you can make that transition. Because I know a lot of, again, our listeners, Paul, they're want to get out of a corporate job, and they always come to me, how many deals do I need to be doing? I quit my job. How much money do I need to have saved? But this is a huge tip that you guys can use for those that are thinking about quitting their job this before the end of the year or even next year.
That's right. And it's I have a specific a kind of recipe for exactly that, how to fire your boss. And it's this, it all starts with this idea of what your freedom number is. How much, and people talk about how much income they make. What your income you make is actually irrelevant. It's how much do you spend? What are your expenses? Start with your expenses first. If you require $5,000 a month, I would always suggest, can you trim that down a little bit? But even when you're self-employed, some of your expenses may go up because health insurance is readily available, maybe from what your day job is. So you have to account for some of the extra insurances that you may not get with your self-employment that you would from your day job. And so you take that freedom number, and let's just say it's $5,000. How much income and how many properties do you need to get back to that expense number? And that's how you kind of back your way into it.
Gotcha. Makes sense, guys. All right. So, Paul, I know you also host a podcast. Can you talk about that and the name of it so people can subscribe and get more?
Sure thing. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I do a podcast called Ready Investor One. It is for people who are in the day job, very similar to what you're doing with the Newbie Zone. And it's of this idea of how to transition out of your day job into a life of your own design and using real estate as the vehicle to get there.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you do like a podcast a week or?
Yeah, it comes out weekly. Yeah, on Wednesdays, and it's I would say about 80% of it is based off of me just giving my little soliloquy. I think of myself as being almost like the investing preacher, and I'm giving my sermon every week on Wednesdays about the lessons that I've learned. And then I also do some interviews and some panel style, just kind of shake things up.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And also, I know you had a resource for people that want to get more information from you. I know you have some resources as well that you want to give away to our listeners. Can you give us that link?
I do. I got a bunch of free goodies for you guys. So if you go to my website at pauldavidthompson.com/newbie, that's Paul, Paul, David, David, Thompson, THOMPSON.com/newbie, and you can get on my mailing list there. I have a bunch of giveaways there. I have free webinars, and I have a book in the works. So you stay tuned, and you will get a connection to the book probably in about first quarter of next year.
Perfect. All right, guys, and I'm going to make sure that I include the link in the show notes. So that way, once you come back to the blog, if you come to escapethenewbiezone.com, you type in Paul Thompson, and the episode's going to come up. You're going to have the link in the show notes. So that way you can get connected with them and get those free goodies and be ready for the release of his book next year. Paul, man, I appreciate you really coming on the episode, man, and dropping those gems. I think one of the biggest things that I like that you said that most people will never really admit to saying that time is not money.
Mm-hmm. Not if you're doing things right?
Yeah, not if you're doing things right. So yeah, I wanted to say thank you for coming on the show. Any last words for our listeners today?
Well, number one, Chris, thank you for having me. I could talk about real estate and mindset all day. I mean, I feel like my life has been a series of questions, and the quality of your life is proportionate to the quality of your questions. So start asking yourself better questions, and those questions might be, what is it that you want out of life? And when you decide what that is, figure out a way to go get it. Find the resources it takes to get what you want and lead a life by design and not by default.
I like it. All right, guys. So I appreciate everybody tuning in to this episode. We're going to have more interview guests, super guests, just like Paul in the future. And you know my quote, don't live the dream, live your dream. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast at www.escapethenewbiezone.com.